Structural heart disease refers to a defect in the heart's valves, walls, or chambers that keeps the heart from pumping blood properly. Valve or structural heart problems may be present at birth or develop over time. Your risk increases if you have high blood pressure, plaque buildup, history of heart attack, take certain medications, or have certain heart infections. The Structural Heart Program at CIS and Terrebonne General provides innovative solutions and devices with the latest technology to bring the best possible outcomes for patients. Learn more at cardio.com.
Hey everybody, welcome into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Next couple segments, we'll be talking about the Terrebonne Council meeting that'll happen on Wednesday night. Here to talk more about it is the council chairman, Mr. Carl Harding, of course, and the vice chairman, Kim Chauvin, is not here today. Instead, we have Tammy Triggs, who is, of course, the parish council clerk. So, Ms. Triggs, we appreciate you joining us today. You said not a big agenda coming up, but a meeting that's got some important documents on it.
Yeah, well, everything is important, even down to the appointments that we actually have. And some of them were rather significant. We had committee meetings last night, public service and budget and finance, but then there are a couple topics that have to be ratified tomorrow. But then there was some questioning about the industrial tax that we will actually be implementing.
Right. And Ms. Triggs, you were actually in charge of generating the agenda too, right?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me a little bit about that and what that process is?
When we generate the agendas, the items come from each department that put them on, and then we have to get the approval process started so it can go through a workflow. Once we get the approval process done, then we start preparing them for distribution and printing to the council members.
Yeah, so everything kind of goes through you.
Yes.
Even though it's generated from these guys, she puts it all together, and then y'all do the agenda as well.
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about, so you got a ratifying committee that needs to talk about some taxes that were coming up?
Well, we have our committee meetings, and the committee meetings are generally held on Mondays, right? And with those committee meetings, we discuss them, and then we send them to the council. And the council would, there's a segment in our on our agenda where we actually accept the minutes of the committee meetings, which was Monday.
Right.
And so actually, it's not until tomorrow, whatever we discuss Monday.
You're going to ratify them on Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
Yeah.
right. Right now, as we said, anything can happen, and they're not actually edged in stone.
Right. So will people, will there be public comment on this, or will it just be commenting between the council members here?
Yeah, you can have public comment because, you can actually fill out a speaker card. Could you elaborate on that, Ms.?
If the item is not actually on the agenda, then they can fill out a speaker card to speak, but the council does not have dialogue back and forth because it's not an agenda item. But if the item is on the agenda, they can have dialogue back and forth with the residents or the individuals that's at the podium speaking on a particular subject.
I see. So yeah, very important thing. So things are a little different this time because they've changed some of the rules in Baton Rouge, right? So can you talk to me about some of that and how some of those tax exempt policies maybe will affect our area?
Well, I think the conversation and the concern from last night's committee meetings, and we're looking at two local companies that are actually looking for an exemption. And with that exemption, with two of them, both of them, it adds up over a 10-year period of $340,000. Okay, and there's a breakdown with these two different companies, how much they would contribute. Now, of course, these recreation districts, the road lighting districts, and the fire districts, they're not losing any money. So this is new business basically coming in, but they want an exemption of that $1 mil, basically a $1 mil tax that they're actually being imposed upon.
Right.
And so it affects fire. I have some stuff here. It affects the fire department.
Now, you said 340,000 over a 10-year period. This is money that now would have gone into the coffers that's now exempt, or this is additional to?
Right, it would have went in. They're not losing anything.
I got you.
Say, for instance, the parish government over a 10-year period, they're going to get $140,000 out of this. All right. If they are exempted, they won't actually pay this. This is $14,000 a year. But we got a road lighting district in the same from the same company, which is $1,500 over a period of 10 years. 15,000 recreation district, which that's $38.43 per year, but over a 10-year period is $38,000. In reference to the fire district, we were going to lose $7,700 a year, $77,000
Over a 10-year.
Over a 10-year period. So that's just one company. And the other company, they are very similar, but you add both together, it totals $340,000.
I see.
So that's money that's not going to be placed there. The current concern last night is the fact that how would it affect some of these? You remember we had Ms. Kim Chauvin on. She was talking about the fire district down in her area that, they needed funding, and they also need their millage passed. So some of the fire districts and the recreation districts are losing revenue. And that's something that we have to
How
consider.
you're going to make, figure out how you're going to make that up.
Yeah, definitely so.
Whether that be a tax or budget, finding money from somewhere else, right?
Right, and that's the things that are coming up, because what's coming up in Baton Rouge, they're looking at inventory taxes too, and I just recently left a TEDA meeting, and that was one of the concerns that I have, is how we as people in Terrebonne Parish, that are leaders and business people and concerned citizens, how we're going to deal with it, whether we are off for the inventory tax that we're going to have, because there are some penalties if we do not actually accept what's coming out of Baton Rouge. Then we're on our own.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big part of what they were trying to get, I guess, even the state taxes down to zero. They were going to go a little smaller this year, but they're trying to eventually get it down. They knew that was going to gut a lot of yard programs, so there's going to be some kind of parachute built in. So we'll have to talk about those guys in a second. Let's take a break. More with the councilman from Terrebonne Parish right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're speaking with the Terrebonne Parish Council and the chairman, Mr. Carl Harding, as well as Tammy Triggs, who is the Terrebonne Parish Council Clerk. So, guys, thanks so much for being with us. We are going to talk to Jerome Zerang in a follow-up segment, talking about what's happening in the state and the things that are happening. But I think that's where a lot of people need to know is what's happening in Baton Rouge, how it affects, goes downhill. We all love cutting taxes, but I know we don't want to cut local programs and that kind of stuff. So those same companies, that some of the bigger employers that might be seeking these exemptions from their tax, can they go to the school board, fire districts? Who else gets monies? I know the veterans, the War Museum, library, those kind of things. Can they go down the line and get exemptions from all of these entities?
Yeah, it would be up to those particular, say for instance, the school board. I know that for sure, that they can actually go to the school board and ask for the same exemption. And also, I must go back to say this also, that we had to act upon this because we had a 30, I think we had a small window to react to it. If we did not react to it within a certain amount of time, we could not get an extension on our accepting the resolution.
Right.
So
you guys can decline it.
Yes.
they can be upset about it and go somewhere else or whatever, whatever it is. But I'm wondering if they're the first of many companies that may come to your office.
It's a possibility, and you have to understand, we're not trying to run anyone.
Sure.
We're just actually trying to, number one, make sure that some of the services that we're already providing for within Terrebonne Parish, if you're not able to buy a fire truck or fire equipment,
Right.
a closed down
Everything's
fire
gonna be more
station,
expensive.
so that's more expensive, or you don't have enough money. It's not a whole bunch of money that we are actually looking at here, but then some people are really scrapped for dollars.
Right.
And we want all the companies, and then my biggest thing, one of these, the two companies that, that's there, 42% of their employees come from Terrebonne Parish.
Right.
The other one has 19% coming up from Terrebonne Parish. So we want them to invest in the Terrebonne Parish.
Right.
We want them to hire from Terrebonne Parish. So if they get these exemptions, this is Carl Harding's take on that is the fact that we want you to build local, just like Build America, buy American,
right.
build a Terrebonne, buy from Terrebonne,
Yeah. I'm sure they want to be good corporate citizens too, but I'm sure they want to take advantage of the way they're not dissimilar or maybe not as similar as like Disney in Florida when they had those little fights they were doing,
Right.
And so yeah, we'll see what goes on there for sure. So looking past, the next on the agenda was the council member request for discussion of, one of them is Steve Trosclair, looks like discussing presentation of parade crews, and the other was Brian Pledger looking for information regarding the parish expenditures between $30,000 and $60,000 on contracting and purchasing. Was that going to be controversial, either one of those?
I don't assume there'd be controversy. It could be some differences in the opinion there, but I never approach it as controversy. Mr. Trusclair, his request, it can be rather broad because, he doesn't say crew, he said crews. But you look at Mr. Pleasure, as of March 13, 2024, that we basically had set up, whereas the parish president can actually seek contracts of $30,000 unless without having to come to the council. And you got to understand, just as this agenda is actually made, see, we can run the parish without a parish president, but we can't run it without the council.
Right.
So the point there is that he has some leeway and an opportunity as he run the parish, but then still there should be some oversight.
Oh, yeah.
And so with that being said, so we increased it from $30,000 to $60,000. So it just so happened, evidently, I think Mr. Pleasure, who actually placed this on there, he just want to do a little fact checking and stuff like that and see how well this raising from $30,000 to $60,000, perhaps. It's only me make the assumption of what he's trying to do. I can't actually say, but then that, from the way it's written, that's what I would want to know.
Right. Sure.
Is it worth it? How many of them, was there and this, that, and the other? So we don't want to get too far ahead of the cart, because, we won't be pulling nothing.
Exactly. Hey, as we move on, the vacancies of various boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Triggs, maybe you can speak to that, how those vacancies come about?
Okay. For the vacancies to boards, committees, and commissions, we keep a list of all the 53 plus boards in Terrebonne Parish. And when those vacancies and expiration terms comes up, I send it out to the members that are already currently on the board, and I do advertise it so anyone from the public that's interested in serving on these boards can apply. So what we do is at least like 30 days or so before the term expires, we send out all the letters so that people will know that their term is expiring soon.
And how do people get on these boards? Do they apply for them? Are they appointed? Is it parish or is it parish president? How do people get on boards?
Well, all of those are correct. We do have people that are
53 boards, that's a lot.
53 plus.
It seems.
The parish president do have people that he nominates for certain boards because he has people that are representing him on the boards. Some boards are nominations like TITA, SCIA, the Chamber of Commerce. They have people that they're nominated for different boards as well. So when they have nominations for boards, we get a nomination letter along with your application and your resume.
Right, and that's part of it. You obviously got to fill those requirements before you
Yes.
can get on any board. So, yeah, very interesting, and looks like got quite a bit. But yeah, there's 53 plus boards is a lot.
Yes.
So let's take one more break. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here, our final segment, talking about the parish council meeting. It'll come up on Wednesday with the parish chairman, with the council chairman, Carl Harding, and Terrebonne Parish Council Clerk, Ms. Tammy Triggs. And really want to talk a little more, we're talking in the break that your job not only is you wear many hats. And almost like a parliamentarian, right?
Exactly.
And also those kind of things. So can you talk a little bit more about that? And maybe you want to lead her into some of the things she does to explain.
Yeah, well, she knows her job. She's very experienced at her job. I think most importantly, I can't start to say how appreciative I am of her and her staff. She has 3 people that works with her on her staff that actually take care of all the responsibilities, basically, of the council. So that's 9 people that they have to take care of.
Right.
I can make a phone call and say, well, look, I need this. What happened in 1973? What happened in 1980? What is this ordinance, and what resolution, when was this done, who made the motion, who did not make the motion. So, I would just love to have her just explain it to you.
Yeah, you're taking it from a lot of different people, though,
Yes.
right? Starting with the 9 councilmen plus the other duties. But yeah, tell me about how all that comes together.
Okay, when we start working on agendas, we have deadlines like Wednesday prior to the council meeting and Thursday prior to the council meetings and Fridays. We have deadlines that you have to have your items in by a certain time. And that gives us the time to make sure that everything is correct on the agenda and that everything flows correctly. Sometimes we have a little glitches with getting it in on time, but most of the time it runs along smooth. Now, we have to do that for the meeting. Now, once the meeting is over, like today, tomorrow, and like yesterday, we're now working on resolutions and ordinances that are going to come before the council on Wednesday. And then on Thursdays, when the real work starts, we start doing signatures and sending stuff out and making sure that everybody gets what they need so that we can just move on to the next meeting. So 1 week is agendas and 1 week is meetings.
And also historians,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And when he just kind of mentioned, how do you look up, are the archives all online now, or do you just have a bunch of books you got to go look through for those
We
guys?
have some that's online, but we do have some that are in books, which are some of the ones before consolidation. Some of them are still in French. Some of them we don't let people touch because they're frail and we don't want the prints and stuff all over the books. But we have books in the office in French in our library, yeah.
Yeah, so Carl can call and say, hey, how'd they handle this in 1852?
Correct.
And you got to go find it.
Yeah, we can find it. We can find
Yeah,
it.
and bring the French interpreter.
Yeah, we can find it. Yeah, people come by. They used to come by and look all the time before COVID. I mean, we really don't have a lot of traffic right now. But yeah, we have books of everything.
Yeah. And so what's the biggest request from these guys? And when they need to know something on a historical perspective, and I guess depending on what their agenda is.
Our biggest request most of the time is streetlights. Like when were they incorporated? Or when did the parish take it over? When was it de-dedicated? Stuff like that. It's mostly like streetlights and, not streetlights, excuse me, streets and the roads.
Right.
Because they're looking for them. And
Who
like,
owns them, whose
yeah,
responsibility,
exactly.
right?
That's our biggest request on the street.
Who's going to fix these potholes, right? Whose responsibility is
Who actually owns it?
Right,
Who-
right.
yeah, who owns the right of way?
Right. Who's
Who
going
owns it?
Yeah, whose responsibility is it, for sure. So, yeah, so how big a deal for you guys? And are some of the members a little more needy than others, Carl?
I think they are. We even with me, I'm constantly learning. I think Tammy, you have 16 years. How many years?
14.
14 years. So when you have a new bunch of people coming in, You know what I mean? They have to rely on that council clerk staff.
Sure.
Well, something simple as when the agendas are done, or when they can pick up agendas, or what is required of the staff, and what are the limits of the staff. And we want to make sure today that this is not an easy task.
Right.
To make this. And the importance of consolidated government, this is where we make our rules and regulations. This is where we follow the rules and regulations and misspelling of words. It's because we putting it out there or having everything that's in order. So because she represents Terrebonne Parish.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You can read this if you were in Egypt somewhere and you pull this up online. This represents Terrebonne Parish. Yeah. So the importance of their documentation, the accuracy, the preciseness, because it is a legal document. It's a matter of record. When I sign resolutions and proclamations and all of those things, right, they are in order. They are prepared by her. They have a wonderful guy over there named Keith Hampton. Yes. Keith, his penmanship from the proclamations that we actually have, and he's really rather precise with what he does.
Right.
So they take pride in that, and I really wanted the opportunity somehow or another publicly to say how appreciative I am.
Right.
Her and the staff, because a lot of days that I was kind of at awe. And then I make a phone call, and they...
She takes care of you. You were also saying if you don't do it right, if it doesn't get to her right, it's not getting on, right? So that's also part of your job, is to kind of make sure everything's in its place, right?
Correct. Even with the committee agendas and any other agendas and condemnations and the special meetings and all of that, we have to make sure that everything is correct on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important. Do you see other places that miss those kind of things and things don't get done because just clerical errors?
I don't know. When we go to conferences and we talk about what all we do, some of them tell us some of the other clerks in different parishes, we don't do that.
Yeah, right. No,
we don't do that.
You guys got it rolling. And it's such an important part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've seen other municipalities, smaller, Bogalusa comes to mind, not doing things the right way, and then it sets back a community. So, guys, thanks so much, and have a great meeting, and great to know what you do, Tammy, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.